than I gave it credit for. So apologies for that. However, I am now joined by friend of Early Breakfast, Tammy Foley, mindfulness specialist and hypnotherapist, and also Luke Conlon of the Men2Men initiative with Hywel Dda Health Board. Good morning, Luke. How are you doing?
Well, thank you very much. I'm doing very well. Great to be here to talk about men's stuff, and particularly now during Men's Health Week.
Yes,
And
it is.
I have to say that our Hywel Dda Fund gave us some funding last December to get the network going, and we're very grateful to Hywel Dda for that support.
Now, I'm very much looking forward to finding out more about Men2Men and what the initiative is and what your aims are. And good morning, Tammy. How are you feeling after introducing Men's Health Week here on Early Breakfast yesterday?
Really good. Lovely to be back on today and great to meet Luke.
Yes. And so, Luke, you're part of Men2Men. It's an initiative where you support kind of the grassroots of men coming together and supporting themselves. Why is an initiative to support men, and particularly Men's Health Week, so important in your view?
Well, in my view is that it's time for us men to start supporting each other more. In life in general, really. And it was something that struck us, myself and two colleagues, two friends of mine, Fred Luckman and Pete Cullen. We got together last December and said, look, we really have to do something to bring us men together in the spirit of friendship and try and unravel what's going on for us men before COVID and also post-COVID, really, in terms of our health. And particularly, men are aging very unwell. And we just thought, look, we need to do something on a community level for us men. Now we took the approach, us men, where we're not treating men as being those men, because we have to start the point that it's about us men as a group, and that's the best way we can support each other, rather than isolating those men over there. But it's us, it's all of us, really.
Yeah, and you mentioned there about isolation. Tammy, is this something that you've seen over the last couple of months into years now, about men not necessarily being good at coming together? Do you think that's a fair comment?
Yes, absolutely. The self-isolating. I think it's really important to acknowledge that everyone's mental health has been challenged by the lockdowns and insecurities, and it's not over. So anything that brings everyone together is going to be good.
Definitely. And so, Luke, can you tell us a little bit about what Men2Men actually is? What can people expect if they have a look at your website now? What is it that they're looking for and that men can find on your website?
Well, first of all, it's open to all men in West Wales. We're trying to develop some sort of network for men across West Wales, inviting us men to come together to develop support groups, to develop friendship groups together. So it's about us working together. Now, I'm mindful it is Men's Health Week, but it has to be said that it's women who hold our communities together. It's women who hold us men together, and women have been holding that burden for a long time. And so one key element of this is that, look, we've got to stand up now, and we've got to start supporting each other. Because together we're stronger. So it's important to mention the role of women in supporting us men. But men can expect, if they visit our website at Men2Men, that's the number 2, men2men.org.uk, they'll see a series of events, sessions happening that they can partake in. They can also contact us with their own ideas, and we'll support them to set up projects they want to set up, or groups they want to set up. So it's a spirit of friendship. And if men are feeling isolated and can't get out, we'll actually have a group of volunteers who'll go and visit men and see them one-to-one. Generally, it'll be a case of going to a man's house and going for a walk around the block and just have a discussion about what they're looking for. So it's a very friendly grassroots approach we're taking here.
I like that. Tammy, the role of women as being the linchpin for men sorting themselves out. Why do you think that men are so reliant on women to actually do the right thing at the right time and to try and express themselves?
I think we have to strip that from the DNA, but for gender, and we have to be mindful that women sometimes are more vocal about their feelings, about expressing their emotions, which kind of ties into us referring back to the conversation yesterday when we talked about the traditional views of men and keeping their feelings inside and not sharing that information. And I think what's really great about Men to Men is that when one man, for example, hears another man talking about something sensitive, and it's on your website, it can be really, really powerful. And it's that vehicle of starting that conversation, starting that dialogue, whether it's in one of the men's shed, or whether it's or whether it's for a walk. It's just starting that conversation.
Yeah, and of course, yesterday we did have people get in touch with us after the show, and we're going to address most of them, all of them, but by the end of the week, hopefully. And that whole thing of people around the men actually listening and finding those key communication factors, verbal and non-verbal. Luke, is that something that you've seen? Whereas, so men might start withdrawing, or they might not be as open as they necessarily would be beforehand, like a traumatic event. How can your initiative support men in actually wanting to come forward and talk?
Well, there's two ways you can come forward. For many men, if you take, we all know about the men shed model, which is about bringing men together to do an activity together. So that could be men coming together to make something. And in that sort of environment, it's about men standing shoulder to shoulder, making something. And then through making something, they get to know each other. But then the other approach is, that's about skill sharing. But one approach we're taking is that we're developing what's called friendship circles, where groups of us men will get together and sit in a circle, and we'll agree a boundary. And the boundaries are about, we're not in this circle to save each other, to rescue each other, or to cross share. It's about it's about each man talking about how life is going for him. And then when that man finishes talking, nobody's going to ask him questions or try and rescue him. So it's about men talking from their heart. Now we're experiencing men coming to those groups, particularly men in their 80s, who had a very very traditional life, are coming and joining our circles, and they're starting to open up about life, about what's missing in their life, and about listening. So when you listen, and I think that's the key thing, is there's a lot of talk about men not talking, but what we feel is men not listening. And as men, we're not quite, I feel we're not quite sure how to listen. So it's about listening deeply. And when we sit in a friendship circle, that's what it's about. It's not about talking, it's about listening to your brother. We call each other brothers in circles. And it'd be nice to have a fire in the middle, but we listen to each other's voice, and we learn so much. And that's proving very powerful. So we're exploring that. But for the majority of men, they're happy to come along to a skills sharing environment and just learn and have a bit of banter. But in terms of taking men deeper to express what's going on inside themselves, perhaps this friendship circle approach might prove very fruitful for us over the next few years.
That's fantastic. And Tammy, I know that you've got thoughts on that, about men sharing their stories in the right environment. Do you have anything to add?
I just want to echo the fact of everyone coming together, that friendship circle. We could strip it back to evolution, and engaging in a positive environment. When we interact positively, behave positively, we make the right decisions, and we talk more and listen more. I really like that, the listening more.
Yeah.
It's about relearning. And at the same time, in those wonderful friendship circles, there's no judgment. It's that positive regard.
Yeah.
Which is a great vehicle in itself.
Yeah, there's a great quote on the website, which it's men2men.org.uk. Is that right, Luke?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, yes. There's a great quote, which is, when one man hears another man talking about something sensitive or even taboo, it's powerful and permissive, inviting other men to share. Now, my background is in the charity. It's in the cancer charity world, and I used to run a service for men and men's cancers. We used to travel around Wales on a converted American motorhome. And in the front half of that was an open forum. It had 3 pods for sitting in, and there would be different advisors. I was one of the advisors. We had nurses on board as well. And what would happen is it would start off all very secret in your little pod, in your semi-confidential area, and you start talking, and then one man overhears something about maybe a urinary problem, because we're talking about prostate cancers and things, and they'd be, does that happen to you too? And before you know it, the whole of the man van was in one big was in one big conversation. It wasn't just a secret little conversation. And creating that right space and that right atmosphere is often more than half the battle. Men will talk, but you need to provide the environment that makes it safe to do so. And do you think that Men2Men have got that balance correct? How are you iterating? How are you listening to the feedback of your members?
Well, absolutely. That's where we are at the moment. We're on a journey, a bit like your van, your bus analogy. We're on a journey to learn together, and we're learning that there's a number of issues that men are just hiding within them. But when you hear another man speak about it, it normalizes it, and it gives you the courage, perhaps, to talk about it in your own life. But yes, that's essential. Really, is having those discussions, and they just get deeper and deeper. So like the friendship circles we have, it might take 3 or 4 sessions before we really start to share with each other about what's going on for us in our lives. But it takes time. Particularly, really, at the nub of where we are at the moment is how men age. It's trying to age, particularly men who reach the second half of their life. The loss of youth, the loss of job, the loss, and that's another big issue, that when men retire from work, they lose their whole social network. And we know that maybe up to 50% of men, within 1 year of retiring, they'll have a serious health crisis in their life. And it's grim. And it's about how us men draw upon what we learned in the first half of our life. And not to end up at the end of our life thinking, oh, what was all that about? And trying to find meaning in our life. So we think there's lots to learn around how we support each other in the second half of our life to bring the fruits of our life to a real conclusion where we can have a valued life, really. The people we're learning from, again, are women. Older women are able to have the power to draw upon resilience in their life, and it's immense. We're sitting down with groups of women, and things they're coming out with, we're thinking, gosh, if only we could be like that. We got lots to learn. So women are very much our mentors in that respect. But however, we have to it's down to us to sort our stuff out, really. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's really, really powerful. And on a micro scale, you're talking about men in the first half and the second half of their life and resilience. And the fact is that we've all shown resilience over the last 12 to 15 months as we've gone through COVID. I know that, Tammy, you've got some thoughts about men's health as we come out of a pandemic, albeit in England delayed by another 4 weeks. So, Tammy, do you want to just explain to Luke what your thoughts are as we enter the new different, as we've discussed in the past?
New different, the kind of phrase that we've coined and carried on with. It's just moving forward and recognising that everyone has anxieties and stresses, and we can compare each other. Or sometimes we think that other people are coping a lot better, when in fact, actually, they're not. But until you ask, you don't know. You just presume. I love the fact, Luke, you referring back to previous, that first half of your life, and then it going. There's a grief element there. I think it's really, really important that we recognise that as we go into that kind of second part of our lives. Moving forward, again, it's just that support. It's about reaching out. It's about listening. It's about talking. And anything that supports men and women, because again, I'll always come back to it's not about the DNA, it's not about the different genders. Is amazing. Whether it's a national campaign, whether it's an awareness day, we need to be doing this all the time.
Yeah, and of course, Men2Men was initiated throughout COVID. What are your plans going forward? I assume that you're looking at hopefully getting more friendship circles together in the same space. Is that your aspirations for the short and medium term?
Yeah, we think there's a lot of mileage in the friendship circle approach and how we develop that. The friendship circle, it's something that's in our, as you mentioned, Tammy, in our DNA. I think when we were cavemen and cavewomen, we sat around fires and we talked, so it's nothing alien to us. But so at the moment we're getting out to all parts of West Wales, trying to meeting men who want to set up fishing clubs, photography clubs. We do lots of works in woodlands. We bring men into woodland, we light a fire and we get covered in smoke. We make bread over the fire and then we go home feeling happy. But the key thing is that we're encouraging men to go out in their community and support people. Because we feel if you go and support someone, you're supporting your own life. So it's rather than waiting for the help to come to you, if we encourage men to think about, well, what can I do for my neighbours? What can I do for my family? And life, we've come across many men who've taken that approach and it's had a profound effect on their life, in terms of, what they have to give. But, more walking, more talking, and more giving. That's really important.
I love that. On that note, more walking, more talking, more giving. Tammy, do you have a snappy little sign off as well?
No, but I want that on a t-shirt for next time.
I do as well. Luke, thank you so much for your time this morning. I've put the website up on the screen for those watching on Facebook, and for those listening on the radio, it's men and the digit number 2, men2men.org.uk to find out more about their initiatives. And you might know someone that might benefit from a friendship circle, from being in an environment with like-minded people, because we're all a bit more similar than we realise. Luke, thank you so much for your time this morning, and of course to Tammy again for joining us. Tammy and I are going to be back tomorrow morning talking to Fraser Watson from the Pure West Sports Show, talking about the importance of physical health and, very similar, the aspect of being part of a team, which is what these friendship circles and these skill sharing initiatives are very similar to. So, Luke, thank you so much for your time. We're now going to have a strong, powerful woman on the song. We're going on the radio now. We're going to have Ariana Grande with Positions. Thank you both so very, very, very much. And Luke, if we get any questions or comments come in after this, I'll be sure to share them on with you. It's been an absolute privilege. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you. Pure West Radio.
Bye-bye.